I think you have told us you're very reserved about your life and you'd rather talk about your work, which is acceptable. But what's the relation between life and work? I mean, how much darkness do you need to work well?
Okay. Well,
or you don't need?
Well, it depends. I mean, in the case, what's interesting about theater is the sport of memory, right? The first compliment you get.
Did you make that up? Or
No. Well, yes, I made that up, but I mean, but I'm sure I didn't invent it. But I think it's well, because I think performance is a sport. Performing arts it's a very, very sporty thing to do, and it's the first sport is the sport of memory, and the first compliment you get when the first play you're in. You have some aunt who comes up to you or some uncle who says, you know, my God, you have such a great memory. How do you remember all those lines? Before they say you were a great Hamlet or you were a great Juliet. So that means that's what, I mean, we kind of brush them off and say she didn't understand anything and she's a peasant or whatever. But she's right. It's what it's about. It's about remembering. So the art of theater is about remembering. And it's in every sense of the word. So your memory is what decides, and regret is connected to that, because memory is what you need to remember, you remember. What you don't need to remember, it's gone. So you can't spend a life keep regretting certain things. So there's a moment where you have a mechanism that says, okay, you don't need to suffer this anymore, and it kind of lets it go. But there's things where you still need to. So that's why for me regret is connected to this idea of memory. You have to, certainly in the theater, you have to reopen scars. When the natural thing in real life is that the scar is healing, and normally it's left there as something that you've accumulated, it's part of your life, it's a trace of something you've suffered, of a wound or whatever, and it's fine. Actors or writers or artists in general reopen that. And that's what and they say, remember that. Remember what you, so that you could actually give your emotion or your pain or your joy or whatever it is that you're remembering to the character that you're playing. So that's why it's a tricky thing, memory in the theater, because it's so intimately connected, and it's based on the idea of memory, and it's also about remembering who we were. We keep remounting plays not just because they're good plays and they sell tickets. We remount plays because they're who we were, or how we thought. This is how we thought in those days, and see how we don't think that way anymore, whatever. So it's about not forgetting.